So in this session, we are going to go through a sample question. And this sample question is a long question and probably the longest so far we have encountered. But when you see such a long question or any long questions like that, make sure you read through that one by one. One word by word, paragraph by paragraph, and even write down what you visualize the computer will output and what the user will input. Thus, you will have a idea on the logic of this program or of the questions requests. So it says a slot machine is a gambling device. The user insert money in and pulls a lever or press a button. The slot machine then display a set of random images. So you can see that the first thing is a user input money. User press button, let's say, or pull a trigger, pull a lever. Then program displays a set of images. Usually it's 3, right? If 2 or more images match, user win some money, or else, of course, you lose. Otherwise, user losses some the input money. And getting further, create a program that simulates a slot machine. When the program runs, it should ask the user to enter the amount of money. Instead of displaying images, we'll display words, right? 3 words. And, oops, not capital. From 6 words. It's randomly from 6 words, right? Randomly select word from. To select word, the program should generate a random number in the range of 0 to 5. If the number is 0, the select word is cherries. If the number is 1, so on and so forth. Now, if non-select match, the program you will inform user has 1, 0. So we will output program wants user. In my opinion, it should wants user don't gamble again. He or she lose. If 2 matches, user win 2 times the amount entered. So it's input money times 2. If 3 images matches, they will want 3 times the amount. And after that, the program will ask whether the user wants to play again. If so, there will be program asks user yes or no. User yes, play on, else exit. So this is a long process, but as you can see here, it clearly is a loop, and the looping body is up. It's up here. And for this looping body, we are actually going to execute it at least once. What does that mean? that means we will use a do while, right? So a pseudocode will be, it's like a user input. So we'll call it input, or say continue to play equals to n. Yes, y. Here we will copy this. And this part, the logic is already in a do while. So we are just going to copy this over. Okay, so as you go through, so now let's see, as you go through this question, you will write down what the computer program is to do. And here is what we finished by going through the process, the program asking, and write down the input and output and the logic behind. And this is pseudocode. When you run into big questions like this, always remember to follow the same process. Do not panic. Just go through the requirements one by one and follow the logic. Write it down in a clear way that computer can execute. Now let's see whether these are achievable in computer or not. So we will enter user enter continue play, and of course here we also need to convert user input string to a char. Continue play, enter choice. So these we have done before many times. User input money, we have done that, and user press button. And also, I think I forgot to mention that we should also have a running total. So it will be input running total. Fortunately, I closed the question editor, but basically it says we need to check input running total and the win running total. So for input running total and the win running total, we need to initialize those, right, prior to entering the loop. And every time user inputs money, we will add the input. We will add input money into input running total. And here, actually, there's no user press button sign because program will automatically does that. If two images match, then winning total will plus equals to input money times 2. If 3 images match, and this will be 3. And also, in each of this session, we also need to print out information like notification. So it's also a notification he or she lost. So now everything we know, we are breaking this into different program code. And here, and here, and here, everything in these 3 blocks, we already know how to do it. The only difference is the only thing that we haven't done before is to randomly choose 3 words. And we actually already have examples, I believe in chapter 4, where you have the random number, roll dice, on how to create random number. You need to initialize the random number first, random number generator first. Let's see, add some word, initialize running totals. You also need to initialize scanner, don't forget this. Keyboard scanner, we will do this later on. And initialize random number generator. Which one comes in what order is a personal choice. I personally prefer to initialize the system objects first. So I will initialize keyboard scanner and the random number generator first, followed by initializing the user variables, those running totals. Then we'll input things like this, and we will have word 1. So we will have string word 1 equals to next int, next int 6, right? And here we should have this random number generator, initialization, and the scanner. So now you have scanner, you have random number, you have the running totals. You will get user input, which will be some out input. Please enter your how much money do you want to input? And we will get the next int. Let's say we will only allow integer numbers of money. Calculate input total, running total. And we will have 3 words. Word 1, word 2, word 3. Now that if 2 images match, do this, calculate winning total, and print out notification. This time this should be easy for all of us. And how do we determine 2 images or 2 words match? Any of the 2 words match. It will be word 1 equals to dot equals to word 2, or word 2 equals to word 3, right? Or word 3 equals to word 1. If any of this match is true, then 2 words match. Then we will do this part. If 3 matches, that basically is just word 1 equals word 2 and word 2 equals word 3. Right? So this is the pseudocode that we're going to use. by this time, you should already be familiar with the process, the program process. You will try to figure out what the program does and visualize the input and output, and then write your logic. As you can see in this question, we are actually going through the questions context, the text, and understanding what's its input, what's its output, and what's the logic behind, one by one. And we did the three altogether. We we understand the program, its purpose. We create the visualization, and eventually we come up with this logic. Now let's start programming. Let's create a new class, assignment 4, slot machine. And public static void main string array args, and this time I'm going to just put a slot machine simulator because I accidentally closed the original question description. Okay, and Java doc comments for main. And here you can see that most of them are input and output processing, but for things like calculation, you can also put into method if necessary. Here it's just simple calculation, so I'm not going to put them into method. But now we have this code, pseudocode. Okay, continue to play. We need to have a continue to play defined outside. If we define inside, it will not allow us because it will be out of scope. And let's say the default is no. And now we need to introduce import the scanner object. Oops. It will ask you to, Eclipse will provide you with certain fix that you can carry out. One is to import scanner, and another is to it says multiple markers at this line. If you click here, it will ask you, do you want to take actions that can fix the issue? The number one action is what we want, to import random. So now we have the two imports, and everything looks fine. So now we have the user input the money. We calculated the running total. We use the to display, and why there's error. Oh, okay. It's okay. There is an issue with this. The issue is there's a random number generating integer. Random number generating integer, but we want to use a word. So word is a string. We need to map these 6 integers, 0 to 5, to the words. Let me quickly bring in. I still need to open up the mapping of the words. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for this one, you want to do this mapping. So how about we create a method that will generate this random number and return the value, the words. So we are going to have a public static string get fruit, which will get a number. And we will have because this is a 0 to 5 mapping to 6 words, so we will use a switch. Num case 0 return cherries. Now, we usually ask you to do a break. However, because in this particular case, once you return, there's no more execution. So you do not need to have a break after this return. The purpose of break is to exit switch. Return itself can already get the execution flow out of switch statement. So there's no need to use this return, to use break. But we do need to add default in case the input is not between 0 and 5. It's actually not only fruit. It has other things like bells. So I'll change the name to get word. Melons or get image. Bars. And as we said, because the return will exit the execution of switch and actually exit the execution of a whole Java, the whole method. So there's no need to add break, but we do need to have a default in case people enters something other than 0 to 5. Not valid, or usually in the input image like this, we will put not available. All right, so we will have a get fruit. This will help us. Why do I still call it get fruit? Let me call it get image. This will be get image, get image, get image. Now, if this two matches, so it's if word equals to, then we are going to calculate the winning totals and system.out.print line. You won this much of money. And similarly, this will be you won this much amount of money. Now, we also need to add if here. And as apparently we do not need to execute this part if the previous one, actually, I was wrong. We need to verify this part first. If 3 images per match, because if 2 words match, if 3 images match, then 2 words will definitely match, right? So we will always need to check if 3 images matches first. If it's not 3 images match, then we confirm that if there's if there are 2 images matching each other. Then finally we have else. Is the logic clear? That we need to make sure 3 images for match. Because if 3 images match, then 2 images will definitely match. So we always need to put the more specific condition first. Otherwise, you will only work on the more general condition. You will never reach the more specific condition. In the chained if-else if statement, always put the most specific situation first. And here we will print out. You did not win. And in the end, okay, we need to, after that, finally, we need to also print out, you spend this much money, you spend input, what is the input running total? You won win running total, all right? Then you can see this is how you translate your logic into a program. You are how you analyze the question and make a pseudocode. As you can see, writing the pseudocode is easier than starting writing code. You break it up and break into smaller pieces, make it more manageable. And then you translate each pseudocode into Java statement. If you start by writing Java statement, it's easier to get lost because Java statement is one statement per action. And when you have more actions, it's easy to get lost without the full picture. So that's why we always say you want to use some tool like pseudocode or flowchart to help you go through what is the logic. Once you have the logic clear, then you write your Java program. Now let's run. So how much do you want to input? How about 100? Oh, I got 100, 200. You spend 100, you want to, oh, I'm out. Oh, because I forgot this part, I'm sorry. You should ask the user for input. Oops. Do you want to play again? And this one is a print. Then, and remember, after next int, we will need to have a next line in order to remove the new character, new line character, right? So this is something that we need to always keep in mind. This is some program pattern that you will run into in the future. So string input equals to, oh, forget the semicolon. And the continue play equals to input dot char at 0. And we also want to convert it to uppercase. And there's an error. What did I do? Cannot equal to the primitive chart to uppercase. Okay, then I need to convert input to uppercase and oops, am I making a mistake here? Okay, yeah, that's because I use lowercase c instead of uppercase C. So Java is case sensitive. Okay, now let's run this again. I want to input 100. I didn't win. Yes, I want to, this time I will put 200. Oh, so I want 400. No, it's good enough for me. So I spent 300 and won 400, right? So this is a relatively complex program, and I hope by going through a process like this, at least you have an idea of how to process a question, how to analyze a question, how to write down things one by one based on the question text and try to figure out logic, how to convert the logic into pseudocode and break pseudocode further down and eventually translate the pseudocode into Java statement and put them into a Java framework. And that's all you need to do for this program.